From the southwest, we saw Awolowo wanted to be the leader, and the likes of Azikiwe was pushed off the political calculation. And at that point, politics of ethnicity and tribalism set in. And if we also go to the north, of course, the people that up till date have collaborated and cooperated with those that have brought us to our nail, a greater number of them are from the northern, will I say hemisphere? The northern region of Nigeria. They delay our independence, and in the course of delaying of our independence, a lot of plundering of our resources, both human and material resources, were perfected. And when the British were also going, like they've done in other regions in Africa, they look for the one that are subservient to hand over the government to. And that we have seen. And there are records to prove that a lot of factors were manipulated to make sure that up till the day, not even the progressive element of the North are in governance in this country, but the conservative, and in most cases, the most backward and most reactionary of them all. And when we go to the Southeast itself, when Zeke also foisted himself on the Southeast politics, he decided to move again Eyo Eta of the Southeast, and to the point that it was believed in some circles that the course he plays on Eto is part of what is affecting that region. And because he wanted also to take hold of the politics of Southeast, he brought a lot of things. And I think the story of Zeke tells better tales of why we are here today. Zeke was celebrated as Zeke of Africa. But at a point, he became Zeke of Nigeria. And at a point, he became Zeke of the Igbo. And at a point, he became Zeke of his own tomb. And I think this is the reality of our time. And if we must move forward, if we will not be totally broken, and if at all we must show the light where we are, it is very, very important that we return back to God. Because while some of these leaders committed some blunder, it was because they did not put God first in all they were doing. Self-interest and Mr. Flesh took over them, and at the end of the day, we lost it. But beyond this, after that, we've also had greater opportunity to have repositioned this country on a positive light. But quite unfortunate, from the military and the civilians' apologies, we had people that never believe in this country. And one thing we must tell ourselves, and the fact of our time, is that most of the letters they are writing can be tainted as the letter of Jezebel. You know, Jezebel in the Bible wrote a letter to finish Naboth, simply because Naboth was not ready to hand over his inheritance. So when we celebrate people that are writing letters now, and I will mention name because we are before God. When we celebrate Obasanjo for writing letter, we must also ask, while he was there as a military leader and as a civilian, what did he do right? And if we are also celebrating the IBBs of this world, that also coined himself as evil genius, we must also realize that we may also be compromising and committing some spiritual somersault. Because if somebody tells you as a president that he wonders why Nigeria still exists, why is the president? The person does not have any moral right to write any letter to anybody. But having said this, Proverbs chapter 2 verse 20 is clear. If we must get it right, we must be able men of God with right sense of justice, right sense of equity, right sense of history, and people that wants to be celebrated on the positive side of life. I love all the music we had and the rhythm this morning. If Nigeria has fallen, if we must conquer the time and space, we must find ourselves in Christ Jesus.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that. That's really profound. I love two things that you mentioned. One is the fact that ego and self is actually eating us deep in this country. And then I love the fact that you were able to take that through the different regions, not just restricting that to the northern, because when you talked about the northern part first, I was thinking maybe you're just indicting the northerners only, you know, but you went over to the southerners, you went over to the easterners. Am I correct? Yeah, so let me bring that to you, Pastor Shile. Something it's up right now about ego and self, you know, and we're in the house of God, as it were. Most of us here are believers. What would be the way out to conquer this cancer that is eating deep across every tribe in Nigeria?
Well, for starters, I always like to say this, that governance, okay, doesn't always marry with morality a lot of times. Because I think part of the mistake we make is we expect those who lead us, we expect them to be very religious, moralistic people a lot of times. And the fact of the matter is that man fell. That's the reality. You can't in societies that we look up to today, they are despicable men. But the general society, the mass of society ensure, either by voting or by their actions, they ensure that despicable men don't come to the place where they begin to wield influence. I like what my brother just said, because somebody wrote a letter some weeks ago, and it's become what everybody is talking about. In a nation where people have a sense of history, where people don't forget quickly, such a human being should be condemned. Generally, because you've had tremendous opportunities to change things, and then you didn't do anything about it, and you are coming to write and point finger at somebody else, even telling the other person you don't have a right to recontest what is legitimately, constitutionally empowered to do. The fact of the matter is this: in getting people of integrity, people who are selfless to lead us, the choice is ours to make. Okay, the choice is ours to make. There are societies in this world where the mere fact that you had an immoral relationship disqualifies you from leadership. Those things don't matter in our own society. It doesn't count. We just tend to throw it. And then when such people come into leadership, and in order to sustain and entrench their positions, they begin to throw up ethno-religious sentiments and things that divide us. We tend to begin to say, this leader is this leader is that. Not knowing that ab initio, we ourselves, we have not really come to terms with what are the qualities that we want in leadership. We are not going to have a situation, this is what I'm saying, where 180 million Nigerians will be selfless. It's not going to happen. Where 180 million Nigerians will not be selfish. It is inherent human fallen nature to be selfish. But there are certain things that you look out for, that we must look out for in people who want to lead. And those things must be paramount. We need to look at their antecedents. What have they done before? How have they served humanity? What are the things that they've accomplished? In what way have they contributed to society? What kind of service have we seen them carry out? These are the parameters that we use. Okay? We don't just believe that somebody will just come up one day, the guy who probably he worked in the civil service all his life and is a multi-billionaire today, and we just think that when he gets into governance, he will suddenly begin to do right things. The first question is, how did you on your salary amass so much? Well, we don't ask the right questions. And because we don't have a perspective of history, we don't look back. We are mostly conscious of the now. I'm very happy that young people are here. I believe the biggest battle we are fighting today is a mental battle. It's a mental battle. There is nothing that says this Nigerian project cannot work. I like something Fashola said when he was governor in Lagos one time. He said, if you are sick and you go to a hospital, you are not interested if it's a Christian who treats you. If you are at the point of death, even if you are a fanatic, religious bigot, and you are a Christian, you don't care if he's a Muslim. You just want to get well. If you are driving on a road, you are not concerned who is constructing the road. You just want to drive on a good road. Am I right? So we need to look at ourselves too as individuals and ask ourselves, am I a selfless person? Am I a selfless person? Leadership sometimes actually is a reflection of the people.
All right. Thank you, Pastor Shile, for that. Let me move over to Ponsap. Ponsap, today the tables have turned for you, right? You're not the one interviewing people now. You are being interviewed, right? And I know that means differently for you. But on your program on radio, I've followed you several times, you have different guests always coming in, and you always analyze the problem of Nigeria. I get to hear you speak. What baffles you? That's a direct question, with all of the people that you keep hearing their sound bites every time of them analyzing the problem of Nigeria. You're young also. What baffles you with the analysis? What shocks you as a presenter on radio?
Well, most of the times. Thank you. Well, most of the times, what baffles me as broadcast journalist is that I get to interview policymakers and people in government, and sure, they have the solution to our problems. But again, either they are handicapped by the Constitution or some certain policies. A typical example is I was having a conversation with someone on radio, talking about the Benue killings. And one thing, kept recurring, the statement that our entire security architecture takes command from Abuja. So if something is happening in Jos, for example, the governor of Plateau State don't have any authority to direct the police to say, go to this community and, calm the situation, except the commissioner of police who get orders from Abuja, from the IG, then he does bring succor to the problems. That is one hand. But when you come to things like providing water, is entirely the responsibility constitutionally right now, because it's on the concurrent list. Okay, in the Constitution we have 68 items that is exclusive, that is at the instance of the president and the federal government, and then we have some items like water is on the concurrent list. But when I go through communities, for example in Jenta Adamo, there's shortage of scarcity of water because the water, they don't have like a good water system. And I do ask this question, why is it that we still draw water from well in Africa, 21st century? And if you have water running into your home, is a luxury. If you have water in your home and you're talking to someone, they'll say, you are not living in Nigeria. And I'm like, is it a Nigerian thing to go and draw water from the well? Or is it the function of bad leadership that, you have to do that? So for me, these small things that are in the direct control of the governor, for example, of this state, and he doesn't do that. And if you look at the budget, huge budgetary provisions given to that. A typical example is during the Jang administration, there was 10 billion naira, right? 10 billion naira, they collected a loan of 10 billion at the time when Idi Waziri was commissioner. Sarah Arengo Chepe was Minister of Water Resources in Abuja. But do we have water? At the time they said they want to provide power, energy, and supply states, Plateau State would export to states like Bauchi. But do we have that? So for me, I think that is, one of the things that really, really get me annoyed, and at times, I love my job, but at times it's just bad news. Every morning you wake up, it's just bad news. Killings, corruption, snake swallowing 36 million naira, things like that. So it's bad. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ponsa, for that. I will still stay with you, Ponsa. I'll stay with you because you mentioned something about the government being handicapped. But we also know that in society, there are some laid down, pipes already that are supposed to be functional, but those things are already defective. Now, would you say that because those things are still defective, or they are defective right now, it's still in the role or the place of government to maintain the things that are already established, or the citizens should really be the ones caring for those things right now?
Okay, there's a political philosopher, I think it was John Locke. He said that you give some of your powers to government to provide security for you. I'm a taxpayer, and I believe everybody in this room is a taxpayer. When I hear Nigerian citizens said, don't wait on government to do everything for you, I'm like, wait a minute. Must I pay 100% health insurance for me to get, good healthcare services? And right now, and I must say, if not for the churches, Pentecostal churches we have in Nigeria, I don't know what will be the state of our education, because they've rose up to the challenge. Private schools, private secondary schools, private universities. So if you have a kid that was born, 10 years or 15 years ago, your kid will grow up entirely without enjoying any one thing by the government. And if your kid is smart enough, you say, Daddy, but you pay tax. Of course I do pay tax. But do the government provide me this thing? It's not the responsibility. The obligation of a citizen is pay tax and be patriotic. Respect the flag and things like that. Not for you to say that, take care of the pipe. I pay tax, and the government responsibility, take care of anything that is broken. It's just like, you have if you're a family man, at the end of the day, you allow your kids to provide food for you in the house and you're still strong and you're working. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm not saying that there are things that the citizens cannot do or should not do. But when it comes to what the government has obligation and responsibility to do to the citizens should demand in a democratic setting by protesting. It's very powerful. By protesting and demanding that government should stand up to their responsibility.
I would come to you, Comrade Steve Aluko, on protesting, but not now, because you have a long history with protesting that led you into rustication, right? But before we go there, I want the media team to show an image that is actually flying around now, and I want Pastor Shile and Comrade Aluko to really weigh in on that. Can we have that image that is really flying around now? Yeah, this is the image that INEC will not count prayer points. Have you seen that?
It's on record in this country that, in this state, that at a point we used 350 million to conduct local government election in 17 local government. And in following election, we spent 600 million to conduct the same election. But this year we have 3.6 billion, 3.6 plus billion for the election. And not many of us are not questioning why the election is not holding. INEC as an institution, going by the provisions of the law in terms of its appointment, in terms of who makes recommendation and the rest, have a way of compromising the people in INEC. But it is the people. And the 2015 election, I tell people most often that God answered our prayer in this country, and Nigerians themselves are the hero of that election. It's not Jonathan, it's not Buhari, it's not PDP, it's not APC. Because if Nigerians have not insisted that their vote must count in 2015, there wouldn't have even been election in the first place. Yes, INEC do have some shortcoming, but the shortcoming is the creation of the political oligarchy that we have in the Senate. There's provision for amendment of INEC Act since the tenure of this 8th session. And if you follow the record all through the other National Assembly session, they don't pass the law. They only pass it on the eve of the election. And then secondly, look at the budget provision for INEC. Up to today, election is next year, they are still considering it. They've not even approved it. And there's some recommendation that INEC on its own have even propounded or recommended to the National Assembly. The National Assembly have not taken a look at it. Thus far, the record seems to be on the negative. But the will with which we have made sure that election held in 2015, let me avail us with this secret. While we were at the confab was meant to be a continual agenda for good luck. The governors, every other person is meant to continue, either in APC or PDP. But thank God that some people were able to rise to the occasion and stop that process. And when they saw that that process was stalled, some of them told us to our face that, yeah, you can do whatever you want to, there will not be election. And we told them, okay, we will see. You only have this fora. We have other fora. And let me tell you, if not for the resoluteness of Nigerians in demanding for election in 2015, the original plan, both PDP and APC, was for everybody to continue. But that resoluteness is what we also need now. If INEC will not be a bad story in coming election. It is the role that we play now. And it starts with the issue of registration. If they see that a great number of people register, they will think differently. And secondly, on the day of the election itself and throughout the campaign, we can organize ourselves into different fora, organize debates, and get this politician and political party to get committed to whatever program we are setting for them. If we leave it for them, be it in APC or PDP, the election will not count. But if we insist that the right thing be done, we will surely get it right. And let me also add this, that we must also, like our brother have said, a sense of history of even INEC itself. There are times in this country that election don't hold. And I'll be practical here. We are before God, and there's no need we hide anything. During the era of Obasanjo, results were written before the day of election. It's on record that while INEC was waiting for the ballot papers printed in South Africa, elections were declared here. But Nigerians engaged the process, and at the end of the day, even the Obasanjo that says somebody should not contest it, he was looking for fourth term, because he served one term as military head of state and served 2 terms. He was going for the fourth term when he lost the battle. And he brought a Yaradua that openly acknowledged that the result of the election that brought him was fraudulent. But either you like it or not, he did his best in setting a waste panel. Up till date, the greater percentage of the recommendation of the waste panel that will have given us an INEC that is totally independent have not been granted. And then after then, we come to this dispensation. We celebrate Jonathan. Let's tell ourselves the truth. Can we beat our chest? We are Christians. That Jonathan was really a Christian. By the performance of his government in area of security, in area of corruption. And meanwhile, the Bible says nothing corrupt will enter the kingdom of God. But having said that, even in this dispensation, I see in APC a more resolute disposition not to have a free and fair election. Because a great number of their state, they have not have credible local government election. Go to even Lagos State, that is a pride of all the states. Even in the last election, they have to manipulate the election on Friday when the election is on Saturday. So if Nigerians, active citizen participation, yes, I believe in the power of prayer. But after prayer, the Bible says, faith without works is dead. So we must rise up as Christians. As we pray, we also organize ourselves to do the needful. And when we are saying doing the needful, it's not just on the day of election. Let's hold all the parties accountable. And when all the candidates emerge, the Bible says, when the righteous rule, it did not say anyhow Christian. If we find out in all the aspirants that we have or the candidate we have that there is not a righteous person, God can still use the stone. See, one fact we must tell ourselves is that the way the church is going, I must be practical here. If we are not very careful, we are still going to miss the mark. Nigeria missed it thus far because the church refused to play its role. And listen to the letters of those songs. If Christ is not living in us, if Christ is not being manifested in us, in the course of the campaign and on the day of election, we go to collect tom and pep and salt. We that we are the salt of the world, now begging for just a mudu of salt. So in most cases, if Christians will arise and do the needful righteously, holy and godly, we will get it right in this country. So if INEC will play its role as enshrined in the Constitution and give us a credible election, we must insist as we go to poll that the result be transmitted from the polling booth. The new Electoral Act, you will not wait for anybody to announce result. It's from the unit that the result will be transmitted electronically. But we must also be watchful so that the wrong result is not being transmitted from the polling booth.
Thank you for that, profound explanation. I will still stick with that. So, Engineer Shile, you're also a man of the book, so I want you to weigh in on this also.
I've seen that it's been trending, and I very much agree with what my brother here said. Where I want to take it forward to is that you said INEC will not count prayer points. Get your PVC. Getting the PVC, in my own opinion, is not enough. The PVC works for you on election day. It's just one day. I believe what we need to do as citizens is to engage more with the process on a daily basis. There are certain things that he has said, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, because I remember some weeks ago, I think it was around December or November, there were stories all over that local government elections will not hold in Plateau. And government officials were saying, no, the government is committed to it, blah, 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 blah. And it was obvious at that time that really there is nothing on the ground that indicates that local government election wants to hold. But really, many of us were not really bothered. We were not concerned. So of what use if you get a PVC and elections keep getting postponed? There is hardly a state in Nigeria, I mean just a few of them really, that have conducted local government elections. I'm of the opinion that the fervor, the zeal with which we engage election day, we must engage those who are in governance too on a daily basis with that same zeal. Those who are clamoring, who are coming back, who are coming out now to talk about restructuring or whatever, it's because they have felt the pulse of the people. That this is what everybody is clamoring for now. Okay, let us just go in that flow. So there's a lot of power that we have. And the movie we watch, I don't think what we are confronting is as challenging and difficult as what pre-colonial Nigerians confronted. Nobody wants to give up a space now. So it took a lot for them. They were fighting impossible situations, but they were resolute. I think beyond even getting the PVC, let us be aware. Let us be educated. Let us be literate politically. Let us engage with what is going on a daily basis. Because really by now we should be, and I'm happy he's going to talk about protest. By now we should be talking about protest. Why should local government elections not hold? Why should it not hold? Why should it be? Many of us don't understand that some of these things, some of the things that should have constitutional backing to ensure that some things happen in Nigeria. In the National Assembly, they ensure they don't sit on it, they don't pass it. Because they are only interested in securing their own vested interest. It is our own duty as citizens to engage beyond election day. To be, what are they doing on a daily basis? What are they doing on a daily basis? I believe it is very, very important for us. INEC will not count prayer points, I agree with that. But honestly, just voting on election day itself is not enough. We must be literate, we must continuously engage our political leadership. We must keep our eyes open to know what they are doing.
Thank you so much for that. Now let me come back to you, comrade, on the issue of protest. I recall, was it last year or 2 years ago, before this new administration came on board, you moved to Abuja for a certain time, and then it was about protests ongoing all around the country, to ensure that this comes up. Now, people are afraid for their lives, right? Because when we talk about protests, somebody's thinking about what if I get out there or move out to the public and then there is something that happens to me and I don't get to see my family again. But you have been at the front line several times. What would you advise for us so that we can be actively involved in protesting and learn the power of protest?
I'm a Christian and I don't hide my identity wherever I go. The best lesson I got from the Lord Jesus Christ, that our Lord Jesus Christ does not condone with any status quo that does not promote humanity, justice, equity, and fairness. If Jesus had compromised in his time, we won't heard anything about Jesus today. It's very, very interesting that we should also know that even the history of peaceful and civic protests was from our Lord Jesus Christ. He protested against the status quo. He protested against injustice. He protested against everything that is inhuman. And if truly we are Christian, we must take the light. Protest, even by the provision of our constitution, is justified. You have the right to protest. It's in the constitution. It's not anywhere. And even if we go to the history of the church, today we're talking about the Protestant and the rest. It's as a result of protest. All the Martin Luther Kings of this world, if he had not protested, today you won't be carrying the Bible that you are carrying. Because somebody will just read the Bible for you and give you his own interpretation. So whatever US became today and what US will become tomorrow it is on the foundation of the sweat of a Christian leader that led protests. Some failed, some were successful. And today, some people celebrated Obama coming from one slum in Kenya and becoming American president. It was because he also believed in the protests of Martin Luther King. And I'll be practical here, since all of us are more US citizens than even Nigeria. If you watch during the inauguration of Obama, there was one black man that was crying, Jesse Jackson. Do you know why he was crying? It was not a cry of joy. It was a cry of regret. This is a man that was cruising in to win the primaries of the Democrat. And they cornered him and said, look, if the black can never be president in the US, and he dropped everything. So I believe that very day as he was crying, he was saying, I would have been the first American president. And do you know when Obama started his own campaign? Forget the other side of it. I'm talking in terms of standing for what you believe in. The same Jesse Jackson told Obama and said, look, if there's going to be a black president, it will not be someone from Africa. It must be the one that is from America. But in his lifetime, he saw it. And when we talk about protests, prayer warriors are the greatest Protestant that I have seen all over the world. Daniel was number one. Singularly, he read the book and he understands that the time of breaking bondage over Babylon, in Babylon was up. He single-handedly protested to God. And God heard his answer and liberated Israel. Moses was a practical example also. And then coming to Nigeria, all those people we say as heroes of our yesteryear was the result of protests. Our independence, we did not get it on the bread and butter and conferences. It was because the labor movement then, under the leadership of Pavilion, led a prolonged strike that made the whites to know that Nigerians have come of age, and that's why they have to run out of the country. So all the conferences we've had from there, even plus Jonathan's own, it was as a result of deliberate protest, deliberate demand, and the rest of it. And coming to issue of life, what is life in itself? Life without Christ is a dead life. A lot of people, if you don't have reason to live, you are a moving corpse. And the best place for a moving corpse is the graveyard. So that you are alive and things are going wrong and you are not speaking. Before God, you have lost your salt. You have lost your light. So when we talk about protest, people should be ready to protest anything that is godly, anything that is righteous, and anything that is holy. Otherwise, we will become another Hezekiah of our generation. When they told Hezekiah, you will die, he faced the wall and protested to God in prayer, and God added 15 years to him. But in the course of that 15 years, he missed the point. And when they told him that this punishment will come upon your children, he said, let it be so. Many of us as parents and youths, that is our picture. Our brother just said something. We are after today. Let me tell you, today is not your tomorrow. A good Christian is considering yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Why is he considering yesterday? So that he will not fall into the sin again. So, as Christians, is it South Korea or North Korea? I think South Korea. A Christian leader led protests that installed the government in South Korea. He's not a citizen of South Korea, he's from Nigeria. So if somebody from Nigeria can show his light there, why should we darken our light here? So protest is scriptural. Protest is acceptable before God. And if you do it rightly, in fact, it gives more honor to your God. The song we sang here, we said what? That we're looking for a revolution. We're looking for a revival. The revival starts from every one of us that is here. It's not only protesting against government alone. In our family level, anything that is evil, anything that is corrupt, let's stand against it. Let's mentor our children to know that they are not just ordinary children. They are heritage of God that should not be corrupted by anybody. So protest is a welcome development. If you are afraid of death, what is death in itself? You see, the irony of this age of Christianity is that we are defining life on the basis of what you have. You sleep, you wake up. No. What does the Bible say? The wages of sin is death. So if anybody is still condoling evil, it's a sin. The Bible says, he that knows the right thing and refuses to do it is a sin. So you are placed in position at different level to protest every form of injustice so that in you, the light of Christ will be seen. It's not the Bible that we carry. It is the practical life that we live in our place of work. Not only when we are president, not only when we are governor, not only when we are... If you are sweeping, sweep as a Christian. If you are a megad, be a megad as a Christian. If you are a housewife, be a housewife as a Christian. If you are a husband, be a... So there are different levels of protest. And I think with the church in Nigeria today is best place. And let me round this, be practical. When Jonathan was head of state, we have to be practical so that beyond registering PVC, we will not be misguided by some religious leaders that are just Pharisees and scribes of our time. Because the Bible says if your righteousness does not exist that of the Pharisees, you are not going anywhere. We must not allow the people of the world to set standard for us. Recently, we were talking about the other regulatory law that was meant to regulate the church. And let me ask, under whose government was it propounded? Under Jonathan. Under whose Senate president was it done? A David Mark. And then the committee that also set up to even vet it, of all the 7 members, director of those, 5 were Christians. And yet they said we should not teach CRK and the rest of it. So what are we saying in essence? As Christians, our life, Jesus himself said, he came to do what? To put fire in the world. Not the fire of burning, the fire of righteousness, godliness, and holiness. And the book of Isaiah chapter 50, verse 11 says, the fire you kindle for yourself, you yourself, you go inside it. So if you say you want to live and eat bread and butter, at the end of the day, you go into that fire. Read. If somebody have the scripture, we can read it. God himself said it, that the fire that you kindle for yourself and the spark that you kindle for yourself, that he will allow you to go inside it and that he will leave you with the sorrow. So if Nigeria will not be broken, if Nigeria will not be destroyed, if Nigeria will be revived, the Christians must take the lead. And when candidates emerge and you don't see a righteous person, look, the victory that God gave Buhari in 2015 was to tell us that raise for me a righteous person to rule. So, and where we don't have a righteous person to rule, look at the credentials of those that have emerged and vote rightly. Don't sell your vote. Because if you sell your vote, it can take you to hell.
Thank you so much. Wow. A round of applause for Comrade Stephen. I allowed you because I know you're well of wisdom and you've got history, you've got facts to back up what you're saying. Still on the issue of protest, Ponsap, I'm coming to you because I'm wrapping this up. You work in the media and you belong to the generation that actually use media. We saw in Tunisia and Egypt where Twitter revolution, and that was primarily led by many young people, so to say. And then we have even the church in Zimbabwe not too long ago, that the pastor was actually protesting in some sense, and that led to the new government that we're celebrating in Zimbabwe. But you know that many of the young folks we have here, and I'm capping it with that, they use media for just jokes, for just celebrating things that do not push that protesting spirit. I want you to give an advice. I want you to give bring a sort of consciousness into the minds of those who are young here, especially.
All right, let me begin with the statement, INEC could not count your prayer point. It is true. It's not the responsibility of INEC to count anybody's prayer point. It is not their responsibility. But we have a duty and responsibility to register, vote. And I don't like the stress that register and get your PVC alone. If I get my PVC, are you going to force me to vote? So it's another debate again. But talking about millennials, millennials are people who are born late 70s to 90s. If you look at the Arab Spring, like what they've said, it's disenchantment by the government. If you look at the NBS report, and I'm so thankful because it is a federal government-run agency. If you look at their report, 18.0 million Nigerians unemployed, lost their job or unemployed. And they are all young people. Now, 70% of Nigerians are below 35 years. If if you study demography, our demography is like this: is a pyramid. We have fewer old people, more young people. But in Japan, it's not like that. And Japan has gone through atomic bomb. They've gone through lots of things, earthquakes, tsunamis, and things like that. But we've never gone through that. But if you look at most of our technology that we use today is from Japan. Because the government, you know, they have a thinking leadership. But for the young people who use social media, I'm not so much social media person. I'm not on Facebook. I left 5 years ago because it's not meeting my need as a person. Data is the new currency of the world. Data, if you have internet access on your phone, it's the new currency. And if you pay somebody to get internet access and use it for fun, and that person will keep collecting your information, your age, your Google search. Now I use Google a lot, and you know I'm skeptical right now because they collect. This morning they just showed me, "Good morning, Ponsak Fanab. This might be the news that will interest you today." And so I just read, you know, all of the news, and really I was interested. You know, those were the things that I've been following last week. So you have to know that somebody somewhere, you're paying somebody to program you. And the meeting just early week of January, I guess, in Davos, World Economic Forum, they were talking about AI, artificial intelligence, to come and steal the jobs of human. And how do they do that? With all your information on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, every different, you know, social media. So as a Christian, in protesting, I love the life of Job very well and David, because when God saw Job, you know, he said, "My friend, what is wrong?" Fasting, in my opinion, is protest. If you fast, you're protesting. Fasting, for one, is worship. Number two is, you know, you're trying to show loyalty and allegiance to God. But the third one is protest. And when God saw Job, and, you know, Job told God, "Okay, this is what's up, this is what is happening." And King David as well. If you look at all of the Psalms, you know, King David will open to God and say, "Kill my enemies to the 4th generation." I'm like, what kind of prayer is that? Kill my enemies, kill my enemies. You know, he was protesting. He went without food, he went without water and things like that. For me, that itself is protest. So social media use, you have to understand that, number one, you're paying somebody to become more richer, and if you just use it to share internet memes and do jokes, and funny enough, even the people that, you know, are sarcastic on media, big organization and companies to pay them money per tweet. And when Twitter was 140 characters, companies will come and meet you and say, "We would like you to tweet." I have friends who do, that's their job. "We would like you to tweet for us. We're going to pay you 35,000 naira, for example, each word." So if they say, "Welcome to PATRIS for initiative this," calculate the amount of words, and the company will pay you if you have plenty followers. So you have to use social media and demand for better standards of life. Because look, there was this man I'm following on Twitter, and he said, if you're a young Nigerian below 35, if you find a chance, get out to Canada. Because Canada are accepting young people, intelligent people who can come and work and build their society. And I began thinking to myself, if everybody leave this country to other places, who is going to build this country? I see a lot of potential in this country. Young people in this country, the ingenuity here, the power, just in our entertainment alone, we have plenty potentials. The power, the creativity, and the industry, entrepreneurial spirit in young people in Nigeria is something else. Country of 180 million people, 70% of this are below 35. And, you know, the government are not looking to that direction. Now they said that in 2020, we're going to hit over 200 million. Over 200. In years to come, because birth rate in the US is slowing down, except if they accept more immigrants. But, you know, people in years to come, we're going to hit, you know, the population and become like US. But do we have space, resources? You know, can our government, you know, create equal opportunity for everybody? This should be the things that we should start thinking and, you know, protesting and demand, you know, with our social media.
Thank you so much, Ponsa. Please, a round of applause for all the panelists. Just before I let them sit down, I'm going to entertain one question from someone. Straight to the point, and they're going to answer straight to the point. Are you raising your hand? Okay, I thought. Just one question. I'd like to just do a quick recap. Are you ready? Okay. She's ready. Just one. Okay, so I'm looking at my boss. I should take two of them. All right, please, you have to be fast, and the response has to be really direct. Let's go. We can do this in 2-3 minutes. We're done. Ladies first.
Okay, thank you. I actually agree with the idea that it's not just about getting your PVCs and all of that. But I have my PVC, and if I were to have to choose between someone like Muhammad Buhari and someone with the character of maybe someone like James Ibori, I'd rather sit at home. I wouldn't go out to vote. I'll just watch it on the TV. So my question, I think, is to Pastor Shile. Where are these righteous leaders we are looking forward to supposed to come from? I know Comrade Aluko said something about, if God can raise stones to, lead and worship him and all of that, but why not from the church? And so what is the church doing to prepare young people to lead? Because, most of the time we find out that most young people, they shy away. Not even just young people, most Christians, they shy away from the murky waters of Nigerian political scenery. They say, no, you can't get involved in all of that, corruption and all. It's drowning most Christians. They go out there and they drown. So what is the church doing to help us? And sorry, please, I agree with Comrade Aluko. He said something about having the right sense of history. I agree totally with that. Most of our young people don't have a sense of their history, Nigerian history. And it's because, history is not even really regarded as important in school curriculum. It's like an optional subject. Even where it's taught, it's either distorted or incomplete. So my question to, my Comrade Aluko, is what can we do now to help young people get this right sense of history that will help them to stop being manipulated by people with selfish interests? They use them as thugs, they go around killing people. What can we do to redirect young people? Let them know this is the right sense of our history, and then they begin to fight for what is truly Nigerian, what will make us proud.
So, over to you, Engineer Shile.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll agree with you that actually church is the only place where you can raise accurate leaders. And for those who are members of this place, they know that. That's what we're about here. Church is the only institution on earth that has the capacity to raise accurate leadership. Okay, but over the years, the thing is that our minds too has been messed up by wrong teachings over the years. Because over the years, what we've been told is that no, politics is dirty, don't get mixed up in it. But Jesus touched somebody who is leprous. He didn't become leprous. Am I right? Rather, the leprous person became healed. Where the church is now, what we should have started 30, 40, 50 years ago is what we are just starting now. And that's why a lot of times we hear pastors say here that really Nigeria is not going to change in 4 years. Because we need a new set of people that think differently. And it's going to take a while for it to happen. Now, what we've started here is what we're going to continue to do. The church is becoming more aware now of its responsibilities. And that is what we begin to do. And in pushing that responsibility, we also need to be careful, just like he said, that we don't get deceived by people. Because once somebody is Peter now, he's a Christian. And that's not true. We have to be intelligent people. That's the whole idea. The church is the only place where we raise leaders. And we must ensure, for those of us who come to church too, that's one of the things we must do. I'm happy that a lot of stuff has been talked about protest. Even in church too, we need to engage. We need to challenge. We need to provoke. So when we say here, for example, here is not where you come to say, God, give me a car. God, give me a wife. I hope we understand what we are saying now. We must raise leadership. And leadership that church raises is first and foremost selfless. That is the character of the leadership. Because you can go to a business school and learn leadership. But the leadership, one unique thing that differentiates the leadership raised in the church from that of the outside is, first of all, it is selfless. It is sacrificial. That is what we are learning. So the church is on the right track now, at least where we worship. We recognize our role, our duty. But the reason why we are here is that we have been taught wrongly before. And to get it right now, the teaching too must change. All right? And young people too must engage with it. Rather than jokes and whatever, they need to really begin to get aware. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pastor Shile. Yeah, let him answer the question, then we'll take you. All right.
I will just build up on what our brother have said. Why did we have the story of Daniel in the Bible? Was it that the generation of Daniel did not see this evil? In fact, Daniel was placed in a more worse situation to have compromised himself. But the Bible says one thing, that in all ways they could not fault him except in the place of his God. And that's the type of leadership that we must inculcate into our children. That's the type of leadership that the church must build. A Peter must not be a Christian. Because what makes you a Christian, according to John chapter 8, verse 31, is when you continue in the world the principle and the doctrine of our Lord Jesus Christ. The mistake the church have also made before now is adopting cultists as Christian. And the result of 2015 election was God telling us, raise for me a man after my heart. It will start from the church. And the education will go to the family front, teaching the right doctrine, the right principle, and introducing Christ as a perfect example of leadership. Except the church is ready to do that. We can gather the PVC, and at the end of the day, we may not have a righteous person to vote for. But even when you don't have those people, the Bible is complete. And if you read the book of Isaiah chapter 45, from verses 1, 3, and 4, Cyrus did not even know God, and God used him. So, 2019 as we approach, if the Lord Jesus Christ have not come before them, let the candidates emerge. And when they emerge, if you don't see a righteous person in your own judgment, tell your story of the type of future you want to hand over to your child. And out of the whole lot that you have, as of the stones, allow God to use. One thing I do, even when I'm voting, even when I campaign for individual, even at the point of my voting, I say, God, this is how far I can go as a human being. Not my will. Let thy will be done. Because Romans 13 is clear. There's no government, there's no power that is not ordained of God. And if you read through the history of Israel, God deliberately raised some leaders, either to bring them back to him or to further his gospel. So what are we saying? Education starts from the home front. The church must take the lead, but we must live a practical Christian life. And in this issue of the right history, let me tell you, there is no history without the history of Jesus Christ. Any history that the end is not pointing to Christ and pointing to eternity is not history. So we must be able to teach and practice the history that we raised in us, Daniel, the Joseph, the Moses of this world, that we not compromise. It is possible.
All right. Let me come in there. Thank you very much. Let's allow his question. Okay, I'll come to you.
Yes.
Sponsor.
Thank you. Mine is not a question. Just two things are perceived that they are evil. We need to correct them. From 2015 election, we know that awareness, consciousness of Nigerian voters have changed. Any person that does not do good, we vote him out. And now awareness is high now. So two political parties, APC and PDP, cannot give us candidates we want, just like he said. And the good thing that we need to, the good candidate what we want, they will not give us, which is independent candidacy. So in our letter of protest, whatever we are going to protest, we need to protest that the government must do this right. Give us that independent candidacy chance so that anybody can contest. That will help our nation. Then secondly, INEC. INEC, what is going on now is these children that you see them on the line collecting PVCs. These children, they are below 18. Whether we like it or not, our politics in Nigeria is polarized on religious line. Our brothers in the far north, these are the people you see in the queue collecting PVC. We as a church, we cannot say we are going to copy them and send our children to go and collect PVC. In our letter of protest, whatever we do, we need to protest. INEC must do the right thing because INEC is not talking.
Okay, so it's
people are displacing this. I
monitor
monitor election 2015. One village in Panshin here. One boy here collected his PVC. He's rating 22 years. I asked him, he said he's 9 years old. So INEC need to change that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Let me allow you say something about, I know you want to say something about that. And then I'll let Engineer Shile say something.
Well, talking about politics is dirty. I mean, whoever said that? Who said that politics is dirty? For me, everybody is a politician. I tell my friends, because I'm still single, I tell them that, look, even if you're chasing a girl, you have to play politics with her and know her interests before you get her. And they will laugh. I say, no, that is politics. It's all about interest. It's a game of interest. The politicians will say politics is dirty, but they use you, they come to church to mobilize you, because mobilization in Nigeria is along region, ethnic group, tribe. In Plateau State is Kokin. Apologies to anybody who is from Kokin Church here. And, you know, they use all of these things to come and play on your emotions and intelligence, because they believe that once you walk into that door, you're already emotional. Your capacity to think and reason is down. You've suppressed your intellect, and they'll come and mobilize you. So do not, I've never seen where, you know, there's one thing I believe. Politics has its own foundation and basis in the Bible. There was a lecture I heard, George will remember, Professor Sunday Audu. He contested for governorship in Kogi State. He said Genesis 1:1 is a political statement because it began with God, and that nobody elected God to govern the affairs of the universe. So God is the supreme leader, double supreme leader of this universe. And so ever since I heard that lecture, I will never forget that. You know, Professor, I think Sunday Audu in Kogi contested. So for me, politics has its own foundation in the Bible. Don't keep saying, because when you say politics is dirty, or you don't discuss politics, you know, in your family, your kid will say, well, dad or mom doesn't like politics, so politics, I guess, is dirty. But in 2015, I'm from a very politically conscious home. My mother was more, I thought she was more conservative, and I'm progressive. And, you know, she told me that, you know, when General Buhari was in power, I was alive. I suffered, and things like, you know, we debated, we argued back and forth with her. At the end of the day, I realized that, well, she was correct. She was correct. So for me, politics is, and democracy doesn't provide for the best candidate to emerge. But look at here what you do. All the political parties, I think 3 months to the election, comrade, they'll start what they call ward congresses. And in the ward congresses, they select who will become delegates in the state congress. So you have the opportunity to influence whoever will become a delegate at the state congress. And when they do state congress, that is when they choose who will emerge as the party flag bearer of different political parties. But you need to be active. People will come and ask me, how will I get your PVC? How will I get my PVC? I'm like, go to your local government. And if I say go to your local government, I want you to know what is your political ward. For example, we have Genta political ward. I think they have Genta A and Genta B. So you have to know where is your ward, and you have to be active, you know, from your ward level to the state level to the federal level. And people, you know, about election, local government election, I was making research. They said Naraguta B. Now this is the largest ward in the entire West Africa. The number of houses that have collected PVC is 176,000. So in church, you know, and if people say, we don't want a Hausa man to become chairman of Just North, I say they control 8 federal wards and 5 state wards. And how many wards do we control as, you know, Christians? You need to, it's all about, it's a game of numbers. If they go to mosques, they say, dan Allah abita ilahi akarba katin zabe saboda a jefa ma musulmi dan wamu. You know, what I'm saying roughly is, we beg you in the name of God, go there, queue up, get your PVC, and when it's election, vote for Hausa. If you go to a Shia mosque, they'll say Azabe and Shia. If you go to a Sunni mosque, Izala, you know, and things like, you have to understand, it's all about the line of mobilization. They'll mobilize you ethnic group, tribe, and religion. Because the politicians are smart. I was talking with someone who served as REC, and then we're very close. So he told me that if he was the governor, he would conduct the election and rig it. Thank you.
A round of applause for every one of them. Our time is fast spent. Please, let's give them a standing ovation as they go back to their seat. Engineer Shile, Comrade Steve Aluko, and Ponsab Fana. Please, a standing ovation for them. All right, you may have your seat. Thank you. Media, the projection. If we sit down here, we actually allotted very short time for this. But the discussion on Nigerian polity and politics is something that is unending. Even when we have the radio presentation, you just find that somebody is saying, one more question, one more thought is brewing for us to ask. But we would do this again and again. We're just bringing you to that sort of consciousness. And you've heard God, every one of you here today. God has provoked you to do something. So are we good to go? All right, the first slide. Should I walk from here? Okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask a very direct question. What is the most used slogan in Nigerian politics since 2014? I didn't hear you. Some people are... Change Dole. Good. Very, very, very direct. And so that's actually where we're starting from. You are very correct. Baba, next slide. Am I walking from here? Good. So change. We didn't put the Dole. What does Dole mean, by the way? By force. But long before 2014, we actually got an inspiration from God to actually initiate this on a local level. And that's where PATRIS came into being. I wish I could be controlling it from here. It's not flying. Good, thank you. Okay. Good. That's where PATRIS Empowerment Initiative came into being. After service, you can walk around here, read these, because I would run through it a bit. But after service, you need to really know what we're about so you can partner with us. And so our core identity, who we are, is very simple. That PATRIS, the meaning of PATRIS, when you hear the word PATRIS, is a Greek word that represents fatherland. And that the root word for patriot is the root word for patriot, which means one who supports and defends his own fatherland. Everything we've discussed here today is built from that kind of orientation. And why are we this way? Because we are designed and we desire to make an impact for change. Long before the APC brought it, long before they evolved it and they said that the change begins with you, long before we put the Hausa version of Change Dole, we had this in mind, and it has not just been us, but different people in different places have had this. But within our community, we've actually wanted to start something that would initiate change on a local level. So we started that. But that's our vision already stated. We want to create a socio-political and economic transformation in Nigeria. Our mission is to establish firm structures that strengthen accountability, that we promote socio-political revolution as well as economic empowerment in order that community members are adequately prepared and equipped for responsible citizenship. So we're not looking first from the top, because when Ponsap was talking, he mentioned those two things. We're not looking first from the handicapped government. We're looking from our own small corner. What can we do? And that's why we organize this kind of program today. So we move on quickly, that our thematic areas, that's our focus. What we are really focused about in PATRIS is in 5 areas that we want to bring change. Let me run through them. Health, advocacy and civic enlightenment like we did this morning, entrepreneurship and skill acquisition, education, and sports. Those are the 5 areas that we want to bring a change, we want to impact for change. So this quickly is our milestones, what we have achieved in time past since we started. We've been able to organize town hall meetings, and we brought the leaders and those, the governed and those who are governing them together to have a dialogue in community town hall meetings. And we've achieved that. We're going to do lots of it this year. So if you want us to maybe come to your community, not because you're angry with someone, but if you want us to really come, we will partner with you to come around. We've also provided water, but recently, this dry season, we're working on that borehole to make it very, very active. It needs some servicing. But we provided water also for this immediate community called Genta. And then we have a scheme, Excellence Performance Scholarship Scheme. We call it EPSS. And we have some beneficiaries around here, but we're going to come back to it in detail and talk about EPSS, but not now. We're talking about our milestones now. And then regular sanitation within this immediate community. Sorry, I'm trying to master this. Okay, regular sanitation within Genta. You must be asking a question right now, why are we talking about just Genta? That's because that's our immediate Jerusalem, right? We start from here, then we export the good to other parts of the earth. So we've done regular sanitation among these people, among this community. Skill acquisition and entrepreneurship program. We're really working on this. We've done it in bits and pockets before, but we really want to take this up this year. So we've done partnership also with road safety, and I couldn't find the pictures, but we've done lots of things. If you go behind the church, you would see a road safety stand, what they used to use around those junctions before, but we'll activate that again and again. But we've achieved that already with road safety. But all of those milestones that we've achieved doesn't mean we have actually succeeded. We need to roll up our sleeves and do more work. There's a whole lot that needs to be done. Let me quickly report that. We had 2 kids that we selected from the IDP camps in Kaduna State. They were orphaned in 2016, between 2016 and 2017, early 2017. And we promised that these 2 kids, we were going to help them out. We've done a presentation on October 1st about these 2 kids. So let me show them their images again so that they would torment you this night. So that when you are sleeping, you would keep seeing Princess Estefanus, who is 7 years old, and she lives in that IDP camp, and she really loves to read. And school has started, but we really want to help this girl. We also want to help Joel Kibado, and we don't know his exact age. He lost both of his parents, and he needs to really commence schooling. All of these things we are saying, whether you are young, you are old, you have a contribution. Now you're wondering whether it's 200,000 we need to put these kids in school. It will really shock you. It's just 35,400 per term. For their books, their stationaries, their uniforms, everything. The IDP has created a school there in Kafanchan, I think I got that correctly, where they are going to start receiving classes, and it's just 35,400, highly subsidized. Somebody has actually given 10,000 towards this, so we need more, right? This is just for maybe Princess. We need for Joel right now. You may not be able to run it every term, but we want you to be concerned about this. And the young people here, right? Maybe you saw the 400 and you're seeing the 400. Maybe you have the 400 to bring it. We would receive it. Also this year, we'll be launching our PATRIS radio. I need you to clap for that because it's something that has been in the works, but you will get more details. I wish I could call Henry to say something about it, but let me not. We've always done a radio program called AWDR on Reading 93.7. It's every Friday by 4:30. And I serve as the anchor on that program. But we noticed that 30 minutes, just like the number of times we spent here, is not sufficient. We want to have full broadcast from morning to night, just airing these vibes all around the world. And that's why we're launching this internet radio, and it's coming very soon. Date you will be communicated to you. So keep that in mind too. And EPSS, let me come back to it. There's a short interview on EPSS that the media team is going to play. It's not lengthy. I would cut it in between. But I just wanted to hear the reports from those people who have benefited, maybe their parents also, who have benefited from this Excellence Performance Scholarship Scheme. Are we good to go?
Everything the panelists said or that has been said during the course of this meeting, one thing is paramount. We need to engage more, right? We need to interact more with what is going on in our country. You can't have your mind out there. Oh, I'm going, that escapist kind of mindset of wanting to live. You know, how many people wanted to go to Dubai 25 years ago, 20 years ago? Right? Today, everybody wants to go there because visionary leadership came on the scene. We can make Nigeria, first of all, the Dubai of Africa, and then the Dubai of the world, the next frontier, the next place, right? And that's really what we're talking about, right? So we need to engage more. And the government, we should be more, we're not, you know, we're so particular about who becomes president, 2019. But the government we should interact with the most is the one that is right in our noses. Right? The local government. Many of us don't care. Who is going to be, you know, the reason the local governments are the way they are is because of the people that are running them. Right? We need to be more involved. Many of us can be counselors. Right? You talk with some of them, they don't know what, they just know that there's an office and there's an allowance paid. But what they're supposed to do, they don't. Right? So we need to please, please, please be more involved, especially at the local government level. Right? So, as I close this, I want to read you, I was thinking about the best way to do this, right? And the quickest way, actually. And I think, for me, it's very easy. I'll just read you a few tweets, my tweets, right, from past, and I think I'll just put a wrap, right? Because tweets like you, I left Facebook 5 years ago, so we left at the same time. But I think Twitter is better for me. It's targeted, it's focused, it's direct, right? Right, let me read you a few of them. Now, one is a question. Do we really want a better country? Can you answer that? Do we really want a better country? Yes. Okay, if yes, it begins with a better me and a better you. It's not just wishing it and hoping it will happen someday, right? It takes a better me and a better you, right?
Then another one, a few thousand people in government cannot change Nigeria alone. It will take it was 170 at the time, it will take all 180 million plus of us doing our bit to make it happen, right? So what are you going to do? Okay, now one final one, and then we'll close. Okay, Nigerians must understand that good governance, say our leaders are not good, they are corrupt at this, but good governance begins with good citizenship. Do what is right, then demand what is right. It is unjust for lawbreakers to make claims for justice. So you beat the traffic light and you throw trash out of the window of a moving vehicle, right? And you're saying, oh, this APC government, you are a bad government in yourself, right? So it starts with good citizenship. What are you going to do differently from today? How are you going to change, right? Nigeria will not get better if we don't get better, right? So young ones, old ones, those in between, right? We all need to do our bit to make Nigeria a better place. I hope PATRIS has really, really, really blessed us today, and that we will begin to think new thoughts and have new visions for Nigeria. But it starts here on the plateau. It starts from your neighborhood. It starts right in your bedroom, in your very house. What are you going to do differently? You want to go to the United States because someone has made it good? What have you done to make your own environment good? I believe we will leave with this question as we go today. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being with us and for worshiping with us and having these interactions with us. God bless you all. I have a few announcements before I ask Mr. Oglegba, who is the Director of Missions, to come do the vote of thanks and the benediction. Right? A few announcements. This is the Kingdom Citizens Pavilion. We meet here every Sunday, every Wednesday, and every Friday. Sundays, we have two services actually. One is the early risers. It starts at 7:45 to about 9:30, 9:45, and then we have the Present Truth broadcast, which is the meeting we are in right now, and that runs from 10 a.m. to it runs from 10 a.m. I think it's safer to put it that way. On Wednesdays, we have Rema time, which is our Bible study. It's at 6 p.m. on Wednesdays. And on Fridays, we meet to pray as a community. Okay? So Fridays, 6 p.m. also is the time for prayers. So you're very free to join us during any of these services and to participate and be a part of it. What God is doing, not just in us, but through us on the earth, starting with our immediate community. Is there anybody who is worshiping with us for the very first time today? Just wave, please. If today, God bless you, sir. God bless you, ma'am. God bless you. Anybody else? God bless you. You're welcome. Right. Immediately after the service, our protocol team will just meet with you very briefly, right? So please just remain where you are. But please, after the service, that is Joy, who just stood up there in red. She's the lady in red today, right? And she's right there. She will be at the door after the service. We would just like to meet with you very briefly so that we can tell you a little bit more about, this community and what it is we're all about, right? So please just join Joy at the end of the meeting. One more announcement. The Business and Finance Small Group, right, is as part of their fellowship and interactions and whatever for the month, we'll be meeting here at 7 a.m. next Saturday. We're meeting to clean the environment. So teenagers, are you going to join us? Right? We just want to do some cleaning. It's going to be fun. There'll be music. There'll be, okay, let me throw in some freebies, some nice things. There'll be snacks and, some different kind of cleaning. Are you going to join us? All right. So it's open to everybody, right? We just want to clean the environment, right? So please come in your shorts, your work clothes. Don't come in a tie and a suit, right? On Saturday morning, just come in some work clothes, bring rags, bring mops, brooms, detergent, the insecticides. Just bring any chemical in your house. We'll see if we can use it. All right? So please join us on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. God bless you as you do so. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together as I invite Mr. Michael Oglegba.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Have you had a good time today? I have. I've been educated. It's been good in God's presence. Some of you may think this is not spiritual enough. This is deeply spiritual. You are not a church until you affect society. God still owns the world, and he wants it for himself. So this is deeply spiritual. I've been blessed, and I thank you all of you for coming. The panelists, we were most grateful for your time. For those of you who left your churches and where you usually worship and have come to be with us, thank you. For the regulars, thank you. For our students, how are you doing? How are you guys? Good to have you all. For those who worked hard for this program to be a success, thank you. For the PATRIS team, Bobby and co, Pastor Femi, Mr. Collins, good job, well done. And for all of us, for the rest of us, Hunado, well done. All right, you will discover that there are envelopes on your table for offerings, right? And on your way out, put your offerings in the envelopes and drop them in the baskets you find over there. For those of you who are new, you may say, what kind of strange people are these? They haven't called up for offerings. Just put it in the envelope and just drop it out on your way out. That works, right? Okay. We don't need to badger you for that. And like you heard before, this is KCP. You're welcome to come again and again. Next week, our next program will be equally interesting. Let's close the benedictions, but we'll do something. How many of you know the Nigerian pledge? Right? So we're going to say that, right, as we close, okay? Is that okay? Does that work? And then when we say the pledge, we'll give the honor to those who are visiting us for the first time. They'll go out first, right? Then the rest of us will go. That works? Okay, so can we all stand? Can we put up the pledge up? Okay. So let's, 1, 2, 3, go. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity, uphold her honor and glory. So help me God. God bless you all. Please, can we remain standing well? The first timers will take their Bibles, their bags, and whatever they came to church with and step out. All right. Have a lovely week. May the Lord bless you. May he keep you. May he give you a lovely week. God bless you. See you next time.